Can you believe it's been 8 years? 8 years since Nintendo Switch debuted across the entire planet and became one of Nintendo's most successful systems of all time? My, how time flies. As a matter of fact, it's still amazing that Nintendo was able to turn things around from the Wii U to the Switch in about 1 year. From the lack of games being released to the horrible ads promoting the system, the Wii U was Nintendo's biggest flop since the Virtual Boy, selling even worse than the GameCube. Yes, Nintendo did have the 3DS to carry them through those years, but they knew it was time for a change, and that's why the Switch came into play. But to say that the Switch was an overwhelming success was a massive understatement. It didn't just turn around Nintendo's fortunes from their failure of the Wii U, it propelled them to a new era in, my humble opinion, outshined all of Nintendo's other eras, which included the Wii era and the NES era. Though I'll have to be honest, the first 2 years of the Switch era made me realize that Nintendo was going through far better years than all of the Wii U era. That being said, Nintendo really shined when the world was affected by COVID-19. During the lockdown of 2020, gamers from around the world fueled the demand for the console, selling around 28 million systems and resulting in the system being sold out for a long time. Many fans played games like Animal Crossing, New Horizons on the system, interacting with others online. Doom Eternal made its jump to the Switch from the same team responsible for the 2016 Doom game. Hades brought something new and fresh for those who crave originality. Even familiar titles like Xenoblade Chronicles gave fans something to cheer about. In my mind, the biggest strength of the Nintendo Switch comes from two things. The first one is obvious, the portability factor. Gamers have two choices on how they want to play on Nintendo Switch. Either by playing it in handheld or tabletop mode, or by hooking it up to the television. Since then, other handhelds have taken inspiration from the Switch to evolve gaming as a whole, like the ROG Ally and Valve's Steam Deck. Who says you need a big, bulky machine just to enjoy a video game? But the second strength of the Nintendo Switch is its library, and oh boy, compared to Nintendo's previous generations, the Switch library is enormous, with games ranging from new titles like Super Mario Odyssey and Hyrule Warriors Age of Calamity to indie darlings like Hollow Knight, Cuphead, and Celeste, and even classics like Metroid Prime Remastered, Pikmin 1 and 2, and Paper Mario Thousand Year Door. Yes, it does have shovelware like every other gaming system, but the pros of the Switch's library outweigh the cons. That being said, there are two weaknesses that prevent the Switch from being perfect. The first one lies with its Nintendo Switch online service and its library. While there are plenty of games for you to try out from various classic Nintendo systems, the fact that you have to have a subscription just to play these games is a bummer. I wouldn't mind buying some of these games just so I can have access to them without an internet connection. In fact, with a game like Super Soccer on the Super NES being removed, what's the chance that Nintendo will remove other games from their service? Nintendo, give us the option to buy these games so we don't lose them. Other weakness that prevents the Switch from rising in terms of greatness? Not enough remasters of older games. Yes, I said it. While Nintendo has been constant with salvaging Wii U games on the Switch alongside other consoles, there are some games from the Wii U, Wii, 3DS, DS, and GameCube era that deserve to be on the Switch. There is no excuse to keep these kind of games bound to the Switch's predecessors, especially when other companies are making bank on remasters of their own games on the Switch. Hell, when Square Enix of all companies puts a PlayStation Portable Classic on the Switch and other systems, that's saying a lot. As we move on from the Switch era to the Switch 2 era, we're also aware that the video game industry is not in a good state. One of the most obvious examples that we're seeing includes companies laying off developers, resulting in job loss, and shuttering studios worldwide. Costs to develop a video game have skyrocketed in recent days, which makes even 5 million copies sold to be considered a flop. Live services are imploding left and right, with Concord from the PlayStation 5 being the prime example of the system in question being too fragile. Without a doubt, the Switch 2 era will be Nintendo's greatest challenge ever, and with gaming being more expensive, they may have to keep the Switch 1 in production, just in case. I mean, there might be some people who may not be able to afford the Switch 2, so the Switch 1 might be that nice alternative until further notice. But truth be told, I'm going to miss the Switch 1 era of video games. As someone who's been gaming since the NES era, the Switch made me fall in love with the hobby for the first time in a long, long time. I'm very nervous about the Switch 2, but only time will tell if my anxiety of the system will die down once we learn about its library next month, which will be our next Switch Watch. Anyway, that's my opinion. What's yours?